All right. Welcome to Edutainment for Us again in another video. And we are into Cameroon, Kenya, and more other stories. Welcome on board. And thank you so much for paying attention to Edutainment for Us and giving us a hearing as an audience. We really appreciate. Of course, we start from Cameroon. In the previous moment, Cameroon had elections. And Paul Biya, who is 92 years old, actually came in to vie for the position of the president. And we saw a lot of citizens having a lot of issues. Let me connect to the... All right, guys, so welcome. I know you will be coming by in large numbers. Thank you so much for trusting Edutainment for Us as your channel that is giving you updates all over the world. Now, currently, as I've said, we are focusing on Cameroon and Kenya, and we have so many things to focus on, including the Cameroon swearing in of the current president, that is Paul Biya. So many things to focus on, including the Cameroon swearing in of the current president, that is Paul Biya. All right, guys, so welcome once more, and thank you so much for trusting Edutainment for Us. Let's keep growing, as this is our channel that gives you updates into past things and also the current ones. So welcome, and thank you so much. We begin with the information of the late Baba. I don't know, during the passing on of late Baba, we saw very controversial news actually that came up, and even personally I had to question, but I had to actually live by what was being majorly shared. Now, one question that people asked at the death of Baba was why is it that Ida Odinga was not in Mumbai during the passing on of the husband? Now, we had a lot of theories with people indicating that Baba had died a week earlier, and the government had tried to hide information because they did not know how the opposition would react, or rather the citizens. And we were actually falling for this theory, only that now when we saw a dispersal of a plane and a controversial, or rather news that were being relayed by the close allies to Baba, including Sifuna, who actually was now emotional for the first time, and also so many other things happening, we began to add 1 plus 1 and say maybe let us give them a benefit of doubt. However, we kept questioning a lot of things about the death of Baba, and people kept giving a lot of information. So remember, before passing on of Baba, we had seen this flag that was flying half mast, and Kalonzo Musyoka was very keen to look at it and point out that the government has had one of its own dying, or they have engaged in the dying of one person. No wonder the flag is actually playing at half mast. Apart from that, we had this information about tight security at Lee Funeral Home, and of course that indicated that there was a very prominent person, possibly a VIP, who had passed on. We had another information with people indicating that Baba had been admitted to a hospital in Nairobi and had passed on. Now, all this information was argued against, and we saw Millie Ojambo saying that Baba did not die early, and instead they are the youth who had wanted him dead. And we had people in Kenya, we had spread information about his death. Now it comes out, and we want this case to rest finally, because after all these tributes, and after all, of course, today bunge la Kayole, bunge la taifa, or rather bunge la ODM, from the all the way from Nairobi have visited the grave of Baba. The most mourned person in Kenya, of course, you can agree with me, is Baba. So these theories that have been going around, I think people should actually just let them rest. But the reality is that when we were analyzing all this situation, we were not understanding, and we kept asking a lot of questions. I remember I asked a lot of questions here, indicating that do you trust that the Lee Funeral Home security was targeting Baba, or do you believe that the person who was in Lee Funeral Home was Baba then? Do you also believe that the pictures which were shown after he passed on and the announcement was made were just there, actually created from Dubai and not even India? Because there was that information about the plane going through Dubai then to Mumbai, and according to what Ruto said, he said that he did not want to actually have a direct flight because of dignitaries who are going to Dubai. So does it mean they are going to pick some footage to use, or what exactly happened? When I try to add 1+1 up today, I've not seen or understood. And in fact, when we look at the cameras and the coffin that was being, transported in Mumbai, we remember the date was right there. So I don't know whether this was a cover-up, but up to now it's so confusing. We also remember that Laro Madoa was interviewed after coming from the transportation of Baba's body from Mumbai to Kenya, and he said that they were not given a chance to view the body or even get to see the body. All they saw after waiting in the plane that never actually had to take a lot of time, was a coffin that was brought in, and they never viewed the body. So when you look at these theories, then you begin to ask, why is it that when a high-profile person dies, sometimes we have a lot of controversies around when they died? Now, another thing that I keep asking myself, if Baba said that he should be buried in 48 hours of his death, then does it mean that they never adhered to his order or will? Because now, during the time people are going to Mumbai, again, they said that part of the family was in, and of course we saw Ruth Odinga was on the trip. Yet, on the other side, we are being told that Ruth Odinga was in Mumbai. So these are things that have been very controversial up to date. And yesterday Oburu Odinga just dropped a bomb. I don't know whether it was intentional or whether it was by mistake, but I'm going to play that and have this case rest in peace as we continue to deal with other matters in Kenya. So let's see this video that surfaced yesterday at Homa Bay. Yeah, I want you to listen to this video and help me understand, because this was live in Homa Bay, and this is what Oburu Odinga said. What do you take out of what he said here?
I did not expect him to die at this stage. We talked and we were talking on a daily basis. When he fell ill, I did not expect him to die at this stage. We talked and we were talking on a daily basis. But one morning I was just told he had collapsed when he was walking around his compound, and that became the end of him. He was resuscitated, but they could not. The doctors failed at the ICU. So be that as it may, let my brother's soul rest in eternal peace. Of course. Oburu Odinga, you finally gave the Kenyans what they kept asking, and they were curious about. They were curious about where exactly did your brother die from. And of course, from what you said yesterday, I don't think it was a slip of the tongue, because he said clearly in his compound, and I don't think Baba had a compound in Mumbai. So when he came up to say this yesterday at Homa Bay, at the brother, he kept calling and the brother was fine, and then the brother actually collapsed in his compound and he was taken to ICU
and people, doctors tried to help, but they never made it, and may he rest in peace. Now we come to conclude that, of course, possibly the government was doing a cover-up on the situation of the death of Baba, because possibly they were afraid about the response or the reaction of citizens. And they were also afraid about opposition, what would have happened. Because we remember that day, I watched a video about Lee Funeral Home a week earlier before the main announcement of Mumbai. And I was wondering, why should there be tight security at Lee Funeral Home? And yet in Kenya, in general, we had not heard any news about anybody who had fallen. So the fact that they were telling us about something to do with Mumbai, yet the pictures that were showing Raila Odinga actually doing the walk down and up was Qatar, Doha. So we have a lot of things to actually clarify, but at the end of the day, Oburu Odinga has actually made it clear. And now when you look at how it also happened that they changed the situation from what had happened on the program. The program had been planned, and they had indicated clearly that they would have maybe to stop at a Parliament House, and then after Parliament House they would have people watching, and then later on they would have a different channel. But later we saw a very different situation, because they brought the body and Kasarani, and then we saw people being shot down. And of course, why was this happening? Possibly to defend some information or such information. Santorui, please be very respectful. Be very respectful, because you don't know me. So I don't know why we would come to my channel and begin asking about gay. Have I ever had any engagement with you? I'm a whole mother with a family, so please just stay off and stop coming to intrude on my channel and actually affect my reaction towards whatever I'm doing. I always say here that whenever you come to my channel, be respectful, and whatever comment you drop, think about it, because whatever you are dropping is quite disrespectful. I don't believe in that kind of doctrine, and you shouldn't actually begin to bring it on my channel. Paulo Santos, welcome from Brazil. Thank you so much for showing up here, and I appreciate you on my channel. Talk to people like Sandoroy. I don't know whether they are crazy or whether they are sober or something like that. So thank you so much, those who are just tuning in to my channel. I really appreciate this. Is edutainment for us, and we've covered the first aspect of our discussion of the day. If you got us already moving, you can go back and check on it. Anyway, let's go to the second aspect, and the second aspect goes to Cameroon. Of course, Cameroon has been having a lot of issues since Paul Biya, who is 92 years old, decided to vie for the presidential seat. So the swearing in of the president is happening in Cameroon, and I would wish to bring that to you. Let me just collect what I can present here. So, of course, we have had post-election violence also in Cameroon, away from what happened in Tanzania. And therefore, whatever happened in Cameroon was that Paul Biya called for calm and pledged to restore order as he was sworn in yesterday. Yeah, days of deadly protest have been in Cameroon, and of course I did one reaction on Live Saga TV and showed that, but finally he has been sworn in his 8th term. He has said that he appeals to everybody to take sense of responsibility, and he has been addressing those who are inciting hatred and violence in Cameroon, particularly the compatriots in the diaspora. According to him, Cameroon does not need post-election crisis with potentially dramatic consequences, as he thinks that will affect Cameroon. So the opposition leader and the supporters say the election was rigged, and blame Biya for whatever is happening in Cameroon. And there has been international criticism in violence that has happened and demonstrations that have happened in Cameroon. So while Tanzania was going on, I had already done something on Cameroon. I don't know whether you watched, but Cameroon was also at grassroots. And of course, I was mentioning that. So data from 2 United Nations sources actually revealed that about 48 civilians were killed during protests, and government says they were 5. Of course, the government will always downplay such information. Biya took oath of office at parliament in what residents described as heavily militarized. So this is taking toll on Africa. And I remember yesterday I kept saying that Africa is becoming a dictatorial place where the military are being used by the leaders, the incumbent presidents, to actually act for their interests. Now, Yaoundé, if you know, Yaoundé in Cameroon is a deserted capital, and that is where the swearing-in moment for Paul Biya took place. The inauguration speech was also conducted as he kept blaming the irresponsible politicians and the young people in the diaspora for inciting what was going on, the unrest in Cameroon. He actually promised to stay faithful in confidence with Cameroonian people and vowed to unite them. I don't know. It's so satirical that he can also lead to the prosperity of Cameroon. But when you look at the young people in Cameroon, most of them had indicated that they were not happy with the state of affairs. So Cameroon's top court declared him the winner of election of 27th October with 53.66% vote, ahead of the former ally turned challenger Issa Chiroma Bakari, who had scored 35.19%. Welcome, Special Kid 2013. Thank you so much. Hello. Welcome on board. So Biya actually came to power in 1982. That is so many years ago, when some of us were not even born. And following the resignation of the Cameroon's first president, he has ruled across almost 43 years, right? And he has been amending the constitution, allowing the running. Okay? Special Kid says, why are you running? What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying. I'm running? I'm just seated and doing an analysis right here. Unless there are illusions happening on the screen, I don't know. All right, so the results of his nearly half century in power have been mixed. So I want us to get to Cameroon through a video and watch what happened in the swearing moment.
Cameroon's President Paul Biya has called for calm and pledged to restore order as he was sworn in on Thursday following a disputed election. Days of deadly protests followed the announcement that the 92-year-old had won an 8th term in office. I appeal to everyone's sense of responsibility. I'm addressing all those who are working to incite hatred and violence in our country, particularly some of our compatriots in the diaspora. Cameroon does not need a post-election crisis with potentially dramatic consequences, as has been seen elsewhere. Opposition leaders and supporters say the election was rigged and blame Biya for the problems facing the country. There's been widespread international criticism of the violent crackdown by security forces on the demonstrations, during which an estimated 48 civilians were killed. In his inauguration speech, the world's oldest ruler blamed irresponsible politicians and the diaspora for inciting unrest. He took his oath of office at the parliament in what residents described as the heavily militarized and partially deserted capital Yaoundé.
So, of course, that was Cameroon for you. Paul Biya had to conduct the swearing-in moment at a very secluded, place of Yaoundé in a moment that has been observing so many individuals in Cameroon have been really on the streets. So let's also watch this.
Cameroon's Paul Biya was a prominent figure in West African diplomacy under President Amadou Ahidjo's regime. In November 1982, following Ahidjo's unexpected resignation, Biya succeeded him as president, beginning his 4 decades of rule. He survived several bouts of political turmoil, the first of which was a coup attempt in 1984. By the early 1990s, a pro-democracy movement was sweeping sub-Saharan Africa. Cameroon's one-party system was under pressure. In 1992, the government was forced to permit multi-party politics. That October marked Cameroon's first multi-party presidential election. Biya won the election with about 40% of the vote, although opposition parties decried irregularity.
So all the time we have seen that Cameroon, whenever they run for, they have elections, we have complaints from the opposition indicating that the candidate Biya has really colluded with the electoral group to actually have a rigging process. And this has continued for years. Biya is now 92. And of course, from the previous information, he has been medically in and out of Cameroon, especially going for treatment to Sweden and UK. But he has still indicated he's ready to continue ruling. From the demonstrations of the street, it was clearly shown by the citizens of Cameroon that they were uncomfortable with him becoming the president because he would not run the progress of Cameroon. He will be in and out of Cameroon again for medical treatment, and he will ignore that development. According to many Cameroon citizens, they have been jobless, there's been no progress, and business has been on the toll because their president has not been in a condition to take care of their needs. Will the status change? Let's watch Cameroon and see what will happen. Otherwise, one video for you and we proceed to the next item. Special Kid says you are running. I don't know how I'm running. Oh my God. So we had a lot of protests in Cameroon, and this was the status in the last days before we had the final swearing in moment. And I want us to look at that briefly, then we can get back to our trail.
The Constitutional Council declared the 92-year-old the winner on Monday with over 53% of the ballots. Issa Chiroma Bakari, the main challenger, insists he won the election and will not accept
public. And I recall even the Interior Minister of Cameroon, Paul Atanganji, of recent, called on Cameroonians to go about their activities as normal during a press conference. And that's to tell you that you can never find a street exalters, and Douala being one of the hardest hit with those street protests. I think the streets were empty yesterday. And so you as a city dweller living in Douala, you've been in Douala. I recall one inhabitant of Douala was saying that for the past 8 years that she has lived in Douala, she has never seen an empty street in Douala. Now, when you find streets that are empty and people are not going about their activities, it tells you that they're in their homes.
So there was a lot of political unrest, but it was not as bad as the situation of Tanzania, what we have been watching recently. So if you watch what happened in Cameroon, actually people are running around on the activities, but it reached a time where the streets were empty and activities were not being conducted. And according to the Economist economic analysis, Douala actually lost about 18 million a day in a halt that happened during the demonstration. Let's watch this again.
It's slow in Douala since the beginning of the post-election crisis and demonstrations. For Som Raphael, a taxi driver, customers have become hard to find.
Since the elections, there has been nothing. It is only today, Saturday, that things are starting to move a little bit. There has been nothing since the 12th until today.
Food prices have skyrocketed in the market. Everything has become expensive because blocked roads and protests have made it difficult for people to get around. This makes access to basic goods difficult in the economic capital.
No one wants to be in this situation. It's really difficult. You see how everything is going up. Well, all these things are happening. Everything is going up. Gas, tomatoes, everything. 200 to 500 francs. That doesn't suit us. It's not good. We don't want a situation like this. Really. If we had a choice, we shouldn't accept this situation. But we don't know. How it is today just happens like that.
For Raphael and many others, this is a call to those in power to recognize the plight of the common man. Offices are operating at a much slower pace. The city's universities and other institutions are paralyzed.
Of the university, things are at a standstill. The offices are open, the duty roster is in place, but the students are not currently attending classes.
Opposition leader Issa Chiroma has called for 3 days of so-called ghost towns across the country. But fears are rife in Douala, already hard hit by the protests, that the impact will only get worse.
Yeah, so generally when you listen to the Cameroonians, they are so disillusioned, and because of the rise of prices and all that was happening around Cameroon, they were unhappy with the situation. However, now yesterday, the Cameroon President Paul Biya was sworn in as another 7-year term that is going to see him through. By the time he ends his term, he will be 90. But unfortunately, if democracy is being sat on, it is another question we have to keep asking as Africans. Where are we heading to? All right, so now let's come to Kenyan politics. And we start on another different level with, I don't know why Kenyatta still insists to participate in political discussions. And at the same time now, Gachagua comes up and we see Ruto also coming up. Of course, Ruto is talking about this Nyota program that many people have been backlashing and saying it's not worth for Kenyans. However, the president insists that it's going to serve the interests of Kenyans. Looking at the many things that have been stalled in Kenya, and considering that it's going to be a hard time for many Kenyans, especially with the fee aspect that has been announced, the increase on fee in day school is going to be a reality. If day schools have been receiving 22,000 for each student, now they are going to receive 12,000 for each student. That means that fee is going to be raised. And even though the government believes it will be 9,000 for school fee in day school, that is a lie. Because practically, day schools also assess computations to do with the feeding program, and they always have to raise their fee. Currently, most day schools have been allowing students to pay 14,000 as a school fee. Now, I think it is going to run up to even 24,000, the reality on the ground. However much the government says it will be 9,000, that is not true. When you also look at the boarding schools now, the government has raised it by saying that the minimum should be 53,000, possibly because they are also preparing to cut down on the amount they have been paying for the students. And therefore, this means a very hard time for Kenyan. Away from that, there are other matters we'll be talking about, and of course that is in relation to electricity. Electricity is a main commodity that most of us are relying on. Currently, for example, I'm doing YouTube analysis, and what I'm relying on is electricity. Without electricity, I cannot operate. We have other people who run salons. We have those who run photocopies, printing, among other small-scale businesses. Now that will be gone because Nege, welcome to the house. Thank you so much for coming up to the channel, and I really appreciate your presence here.
Smart cities, maybe.
So let's check on the aspect of rationing. Ration is coming, and some people, I don't know, Gachagua was trying to say something about this. I don't know, politics is politics. So let's check on electricity and what we are being told. And of course, what we have been told is that there'll be rationing that will be happening from around 5 or 6 p.m. and later on. Peter Gakunyi, welcome. How are you? I hope you're fine. Peter Gakunyi, hey. Naga, welcome. Peter Gakunyi, welcome in the house, and thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate your presence. May God bless you abundantly. Please remember also to subscribe to the channel if you're new here. And let's check on what is going to happen on electricity. Of course, we have what we are being told is that there is a problem with the power supply, and that Kenya has been relying on bordering nations for that. I don't know, because they always say that when there is no water. However, currently there is a lot of rains in Kenya, and I don't know why we should be relying on neighboring countries. This is coming out as a shock to us, because that rationing process, somebody said that maybe the government is planning to check on what will happen in 2027, just like what Tanzania did. But I don't know. Maybe you can drop your comment. What do you think? Is this a genuine rationing that we have ever seen in Kenya, or is it purposefully practicing or exercising something that is political yet to come? Drop your comment based on what you think. If you think it's genuine, let's know. And if you think it's ingenuine, let's also know why you think so. So welcome to our, let's check out on what is going to happen on electricity and get it down our throats.
Stagnated, leading to a reduced local supply. The surge in demand has forced Kenya Power to import more from Ethiopia and Uganda, with the share of imported electricity in the national grid more than doubling in the year ended June 2025.
If we have to industrialize, if we have to engage in manufacturing, we need minimum 10,000 megawatts of energy. And we need it like yesterday.
Rationing of electricity is used to prevent overloads on the system and countrywide blackouts whenever supply is lower than demand. Since 2018, Kenya Power has not signed any new power purchasing agreements after a freeze by Cabinet at the time, a freeze that was extended by Parliament. At the time, Cabinet said that that freeze was to allow for scrutiny of these ostensibly expensive power purchasing agreements. Now that is what has caused that major imbalance in supply and demand. Imports accounted for 10.6% or 1.53 billion units of the 14.38 billion units bought by Kenya Power in the year ended June 2025, up from 4.87% in June 2023 and 1% in 2021. Peak demand for electricity grew by 243 megawatts between 2022 and August this year, while local generation...
So according to the information we are getting from both the president and the reporter from KPLC, it is indicated that we have grown in terms of megawatts. The demand is 243 megawatts between 2022 and August this year. It is also being indicated that there is highest peak demands remaining at 2,392 megawatts in August. And the demand is highest between 1900 to 2100. That is from 7 to 9. So that is why the government has decided that the rationing will be happening at that moment, because that is the time people have come from work and they're using electricity. And I am just wondering, because from 7 to 9, this is the time news are being broadcasted. People are actually active before they can sleep at 9. So this means that it may also affect on now the moment when people are active. Kenyans are very fine individuals, of course, automatically, because we are always on internet. Now, people are going to make sure that they sleep early and they wake up at 9 to begin using electricity. And it would be so surprising that even though, if these are reasons which are being given for the rationing that is coming, then the KPLC should brace for it, because Kenyans are dynamic. They'll automatically wake up at 9 to begin their activities if power will be rationed between 7 and 9. Anyway, we hope that is being done in good intentions. However, we appreciate that at least now students are going back to schools after the 7-week the 7-week period of strike. You know, it's very sad for students to have actually sat in Yeah, some people have said so. Peter Gakunyi. Some people have said it's a method of censorship. They have also said it's in preparation for 2027, so that when those hours are times when most people are closing stations, voting stations, and they have to count. They have to count votes. So if you know what I know, or if you know what I'm thinking, then you understand what what we can think about here. All right, so it's a bit better for now students in the university. Sympathizing with students who have been out there, young girls and boys in the universities. To be on strike for 7 weeks is not easy. I was in the university and we went for a strike for about 3 weeks, 3 or 4, and it was not easy. So I can imagine students have been on strike for 7 good weeks, 7 weeks. And most of them hire rooms to stay in as they wait for, studies. And in fact, some had just been enrolled. Like the first years had not even taken a long time in the university before the strike struck. And now lecturers are going to resume, but they warn that they will resume their strike if 50% of dues, yeah, they have already warned that they are going to resume their strike if 50% of dues are not paid by the end of the month. Peter Gakunyi says also campaign strategy in 2027. Oh my God, this is tragedy, you know. So people are going to keep telling us that they will have to solve our power outage problem if we vote for them. And just soon I'm going to talk about what Gachagua has said and what we've seen also the former president saying. And I wonder why he's still very active in politics. I thought he had retired and settled, but he's not. So we are seeing lecturers warning the government that they are going to go back to work, but at the end of the month, if 50% of their dues will not be remitted to their accounts, the strike will resume, So let's just check on the news about the return to work, and then we see what the lecturers are trying to say. Okay, but it's very hard time for Kenyans actually. We should press
7.9 billion shillings in 2
Ata.
installments.
Pangala.
3.8 billion in November, but not later than 31st December 2025. Kenya shillings 3.8 billion in July 2026.
The government said it had already paid lecturers 200 million shillings and will honor its commitment to clear the balance. It also promised to immediately begin negotiations for the 2025-2029 CBA, alongside putting measures in place to prevent similar strikes in future.
We are going to have an interministerial CBA implementation team so that we can be looking at how these CBAs that we've signed, whether they are being implemented as agreed.
All disciplinary letters and sanctions issued against lecturers who took part in the strike will be withdrawn unconditionally.
All disciplinary action commenced during the pendency of the industrial action shall be deemed withdrawn. For employees on contracts.
Always, this is what happens always with teachers and lecturers and strikes. But it's a relief. At least now lecturers are going back to work. But I don't know why our country has never considered teaching as a very noble profession. All they say is lip service. They want to say that teaching is a noble profession, but then when you look at the lives of professors, some of them are living a very desperate life compared to the ministers and MPs and governors and MCS. So actually, I don't understand why education in Kenya, or rather education generally, is not given the honor it deserves. Sometimes when strikes happen, they are ignored and people go on with life as if it's normal. And threats will be passed, letters will be written and all that. It is high time that actually whatever the cabinet minister has indicated, that we have to have the interministerial agreements that will settle down the CBE and have a formula to upgrade the lecturers with time, because inflation is happening. And since inflation is happening, you cannot keep the workers receiving the salary they received in the previous 10 years, you know. So let's just get to see, the lecturers have promised that if the money will not be remitted into their accounts, they will have to strike. Peter Gakunyi says, on the lecturer strike, I think this is what goes on as long as the union officials have been taken care by the government. The other staff become sheep being led by the corrupt shepherds. Automatically, the same thing is being faced even by high school and primary school teachers, with Nat and Kupet pretending to really serve their needs, but all they do is to represent, or rather present themselves. They go to the government, they sit on tables, they receive their millions, and they go back home satisfied, then they call off strikes and receive their dues. So we have this continuous process whereby, I don't imagine how you can add someone 6,000 or 4,000 shillings, then you spread it in 4 years. What is that? It doesn't add anything to the table, because by the time the 4,000 will be in 4 years, inflation will already have gone up and it will again be going back to the tables. So the leaders in the unions are using the platform of unions as a platform to actually enrich themselves, what we call extortion, indicated earlier. And that is why earlier, when I did another video, I was indicating the aspect of corruption. Corruption is actually very broad, and people don't understand corruption. They just think corruption is siphoning of money or fraud or bribery. But corruption is even to the level of these leaders who are actually overseeing the unions of different workers in the country, including KOTU. KOTU, even, I don't know what role it plays so far, because it is so confused and confusing at the same time. Yeah. So we kind of see it's not playing its role most times. And people like Atuoli plus most other union leaders in Kupet, OASU, and so many other unions we know in Kenya, all they do is to use that platform as a channel to enable themselves grow economically, travel in the world, and have their kids studying in the best universities. I am pretty sure most of the leaders in KOTU, let's say even OASU, and many other unions, their children don't study in Kenya. They don't. So they don't even represent us. They don't have the interest of the citizens or even students at heart, because all they do, they gain a lot of money during these bargains and take their children abroad, buy items or assets out there, get travel tickets to different nations to rest. So they are going to have a holiday very soon, now that they have managed to have lecturers go back to work. But anyway, I hope, somebody said that God will come handy for us. I hope he will. So Andrew Gabino, welcome in the house. Thank you so much. So let's hear what the lecturers promised as they went back.
In November, but not later than 31st December 2025. Kenya shillings 3.8 billion in July 2026. Universities that did not utilize the allocation of Kenya shillings 2.2 billion to pay arrears amounting to 182 million for 2017-2021 CBA, but instead utilized it for sustaining the CBA, salaries shall immediately top up. The others can go to the gallery.
On Tuesday, union officials appearing before Parliament rejected the proposal to split their dues into 2 equal 50% installments, insisting on a phased payout of 80%, followed by 20% or nothing at all.
What we need to agree on is the payment arrangements, given that this is a significant amount that had not been budgeted for. We are just pleading with the unions to understand that our fiscal space is limited, and we are facing serious challenges.
Organs of the union have rejected the 50-50, and I don't want to promise the Honorable House that they voted against it.
Dr. Wasonga says universities disciplinary action that was taken against OASU lecturers who participating directly.
So it's unfortunate. Actually, when we are pursuing further education, we pay a lot of money. At master's level, you are forced to pay almost 400,000 and plus many other amounts. When you go for PhD, you actually have to pay almost 600,000 plus more, because I've tried to apply for PhD and I'm seeing even external universities, that is much you have to pay. Now you sacrifice your time, your intelligence, your scholarship, and even your family. There are people who have delayed even to marry because they had to further their studies. There are those who have delayed to invest. They don't have land, like they don't have plots. They don't have cars because they were sacrificing to acquire degrees, masters, PhD, and what have you. But when it comes to the treatment later on in the field, it's like, you know, you're kicked right and left, like there is nothing you really did, you know. So I don't know why the elite in the country of late are being treated like it's not much. But when it comes to the ministers and MPs, governors, senators, increasing their allowances, making sure that they have better pay, they have better conditions, they have so many allowances, standing allowances, traveling allowances, recreation allowances. I don't know. There is this other one that talks about fuel. How do they call it? So all those allowances, they have them. But when it comes to anything to do with civil servants, it becomes a war. They'll tell you there's no money, we are working on a lean budget, all that. And then you see them dashing money over the weekends in places in a name of helping, but when they are actually campaigning. So I don't know. The Kenya we live in, and I don't think it's only Kenya, but Africa has actually failed us. It has failed us big time. Hashta, hello, welcome, my sister. Thank you so much for coming to the house. And let us now get to the real politics. We have real politics happening currently, if you don't know. For those who are holding tributes at Baba, most of them are going there because of political reasons. And I really understand that. So when they go there, they want to be in the limelight. Of course, YouTube and many other channels are highlighting them, Azimio TV and all that. So of course we have seen Mwangi wa Iria pleading with Mama Ida to forgive Governor Mutai for whatever statement he said, saying that the people of Mulima they owe to Raila and so much so many other things. So I'll be bringing into the house later. But before that, I want to bring Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta actually told Kenyans that they should not vote for somebody just because they have a lot of money or big stomachs. I don't know. Why is he coming back to do voter sensitization? What does he stand to gain? Is it true that he's the one who is fronting the candidate that is Matiang? These are the questions I'm asking myself. Then now, on the other end, we've seen Ruto actually beating a drum around Nyota program. How beneficial is Nyota program? Does it benefit the citizens, or is it another investment plan for the government? So let's check on Uhuru Kenyatta, then we can proceed on to the rest.
No. Tiga kwetiga ki ati toro niwe wina bia kana niwe woka na gikari kinene neguo nekugansa hau ne twarega turendo nia toro gutire njere ngi ya gutha hakuna njia ingine ya kurekebisha isipokuwa kuchukua nguvu za serikali mikononi mwenu kutoka kwa MCA mpaka hata kwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Tunaelewana vijana? Si ndio? Na hiyo shiori. Wacha niwaambie.
So while Kenyatta spoke, he seemed to actually encouraging the people of Mount Kenya to go for presidential position. Is he supporting Gachagua? That is the question I'm asking myself. Or what is he trying to insinuate when he says that the people of Mount Kenya should take over leadership? Just let me know. Drop a comment and let me know. And do you think he's at pains that leadership is in another community currently? Or what is Uhuru Kenyatta trying to do? And he's encouraging citizens to take over power. That is the Mount Kenya people. He also told them not to vote for people based on the money they have, but they can receive that money and vote for somebody else. Away from that, we saw Ruto campaigning for Nyota project, and let's just check into it. This program has seen a lot of it has seen a lot of criticism. Actually, people saying that there is a lot of money that is going to be wasted for nothing when it could be invested elsewhere. What's your thought? Do you think that Nyota program is really a state of affair that will help Kenyans, or is it only going to swallow our money? So let's check on what Uhuru Kenyatta had to tell the youth in an occasion at Mumias Sports Complex.
So under this program of Nyota, we are targeting young people, people who have skills. Kuna watu wengi ni mechanic, ni painter, ni fundi, electrician, mtu ambaye anafanya plumbing, lakini hajasomea hiyo plumbing. Ni vile tu alienda kwa mjengo, akakaa hapo, akasoma, akajituma, akakaa na fundi, akaendelea mpaka akajua ile kazi, lakini hana certificate. Sasa mtu huyo tumesema, huyo ambaye alijituma pale kwa mjengo, yeye si fundi, lakini kwa bidii yake ameng'ang'ana mpaka sasa yeye ni fundi. Shida hana makaratasi ya kuonyesha yeye ni fundi. Sasa tumesema hata na wao sasa tutawafanyia certification. Serikali tutawalipia na tuwapatie certificate, so that yule ambaye ni mechanic amejituma pale
Oh my God. So Uhuru is Ruto is actually going around telling people that Nyota will really help. Nyota program will really help people, especially refugees, and people with disability. How true is this? Now I'm looking at what he's explaining, and he's saying that these people who have been skilled on themselves. Naga, I again said hello, welcome to the house, thank you so much. So he is saying that they are going to get certificates and the government is going to pay for them so that they go through learning. But the reality is that how much money is focused towards Nyota? There's a lot of money that has been focused towards that. Yet, in reality, that money could have addressed other matters that are withstanding. Okay? So, we have had past inequalities, of course, which they are saying that this Nyota program is going to address. So, I'm not sure about how this will address that, because the same people who have been in charge of other matters are the same people who are going to be overseeing what we call the Nyota. But anyway, I'll take another moment to talk about Nyota empowerment, another moment to talk about the Nyota empowerment. But for now, let me just peruse through. Peter Gakunye is very vocal here, doing a lot of good comments. He says on issues politics, there is more that meets an eye, which is very true. It is a world of interests. Ruto serves neither the elite nor citizens' interests, and so Uhuru feels threatened. Okay. Yes, of course, from even the people who have worked with Uhuru, we know very well that whatever he does mostly is focused towards himself. Yeah? Because if you look at many things that happen even in his own home background, you realize that he does things to actually cushion himself. So when he comes up with this Nyota program, I'm going to research deeply on it and see what exactly, when he sells something, he is very persuasive. He has a sweet tongue. He has a very sweet tongue. He can make you understand that something is going to be very beneficial. Just like he came up with the aspect of wheelbarrow. And citizens saw that as a very good thing. Only later on to be left without a wheelbarrow, or even the wheelbarrow itself was indeed, something that was very metaphorical in a negative way. So anyway, Gachagua had to stand out and talk about the presidential, candidate position, because of course we saw a lot of information circulating and we were being told that Gachagua is not going to vie for the presidential position. Now he says that he may sacrifice for someone else only if he does not make it to persuade others. But he keeps reminding the young people that he wants to be the president of Kenya. So what is happening? What is happening in the opposition, DCP and all that? So let's listen briefly to Gachagua here, and we see what he's talking about.
Patriotic to your country. Why don't you agree to help our country by vying for these positions and come and make good laws and restore the dignity of your nation? What are you waiting for? My good people, what are you waiting for? We want to hand over this country to you. We just want to help you get rid of Kasongo because that is your greatest enemy. Kasongo is allergic to young people. He has allergy. So the only way our young people can survive and prevail and take their rightful place in this country is when Kasongo is one town. So before we can restore our young people and put them into places of leadership, it is a prerequisite that Kasongo must exit. So nyinyi tafadhali, I agree with the formula that will have exemption for you to pay nomination fees.
So Gachagua actually is making moves, and he's making sure that he collects enough people for the party DCP, because so far we've been seeing ODM saying that they have more population in terms of the citizens who are in ODM. Now, Gachagua is making sure that he moves with Malala and his team, Kalonzo and all that. Though this is DCP alone, but we have an umbrella that is coming up. And they are saying that they are going to agree on one candidate. And therefore, when he said that, and there was this meeting that was involving Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene, we had Natembea, and all those. Quickly, we saw the news lights giving us that Gachagua has stepped out of the presidential position. And all people actually reacted to that. I was hesitant to react to that because I wanted to hear from Gachagua himself. And he has come up in his campaigns. Now he's trying to reach the young people, trying to encourage them to join DCP. At the same time, he is gaining ground. Actually, from what he said, depending on how much you can bring to the table, you will be persuasive enough to tell us whether you can be the candidate or not. All right. So this is the more he went out to say. Peter Gakunyi is saying on recent developments, Nyota program, affordable housing, etc. It is a global PR to the IMF and World Bank to continue giving funding that will be used in 2027 campaigns, since WSR has no money. Yeah, that is clear. Of course, I wanted to do something on housing, affordable housing, and actually show how citizens are being made to believe that this is something that is going to benefit them. But it is indirectly a way to assure the World Bank that at least as it gives loans to Kenya, if that money will circulate in real estates and force people even to move from rural areas to the cities, then they are going to have an easy way to regain their money. So it is to put citizens in long life slavery, economic slavery, because you will keep paying rent until you die, and you don't have ground to be buried because you bought a house, but you have paid for affordable house, but you have not owned a house, you know. Anyway, these are discussions we should do another time, I think tomorrow or another day. But let me continue to talk about what Gachagua was sharing here.
But when you prove that you are a serious candidate by alluring members into the party, then we know you are serious, isn't it? Otherwise, we would have too many jokers. So that formula, Wanjiku Thega and SG work on it, I am 100% persuaded. I am alive.
Mashiba.
You know, the other day, I went to my hometown in Karatina. The number. Kama hapa Nairobi nikipiga hesabu, DCP will have over 20 nominated MCAs. 10 ni zenu. Like Jemo, ile kazi umefanya tayari, moja ni yako. Sindio? So, you guys, hizo viti tutapeana kulingana na proven track record. Your activities, what are you doing for the party? Are you a good online warrior for the party? Kwa hii mitandao, I put a team now to start analyzing who is fighting for this cause for the party. Bas.
Aye. Gachagua is very funny. He's indicating that we'll have people to analyze how serious candidates, or rather the people who are marshalling for the DCP are. And here, Peter Gakunyi is saying DCP is a political outfit fashioned by Gachagua aimed at political bargaining with the existing government of the day. Just like Raila with ODM. There is some percentage of truth in that, but I don't know whether Gachagua will actually work alongside the government, because some political differences are just too much. You know, when I look at what Gachagua went through, I don't know whether he can come and sit on the table with the government. But sometimes in Kenya, you may not have doubt. Some things can happen of that sort. But what I think is just DCP is being a revenge mission. It's kind of a party which was formed just like NIP in Zimbabwe. If you ever checked on NIP in Zimbabwe, formed with a mission to revenge against the government. And therefore, that is why his narrative, whenever he goes to any place, at least Kalonzo Musyoka, when he stood somewhere, he said that he has a manifesto and he shared out what he wants to do. But whenever DCP stands, they just say, Kasongo home, one term. Let us have the mission of removing him, then the rest will come. So they don't tell us like what has to be done, so that when they come in office, they'll be telling people, did we tell you anything? We told you our mission was to have Kasongo go home, you know? And this is one task that I would wish that citizens would put DCP in question. They are supposed to begin questioning it. What are you planning to do for us? Tell us. And how? And when? So that they don't just keep telling us the narrative of Kasongo Nyumbani. Then after that, what? And how? And when? You know? So he went on, and he said at some point that he wants to be the president of Kenya. Hey, Gakunya is saying there are no permanent enemies.
Kwa mtandao, wale wanapigania chama na sisi kwa mtandao, it will also be one of the methods to identify the people we nominate to go to the county assemblies. I want to be surrounded by an army of young, aggressive, intelligent young people so that I can be a good leader. There is no way you go anywhere as a leader unless umejisurround na vijana ambaye wamesoma na ambaye hawaogopi mtu yeyote. Rigathi Gachagua has availed himself to be surrounded by young leaders so that I can succeed. I'll go nowhere without you. I want you to come. We work together. I want you to take over these county assemblies, both the elected MCAs and the nominated ones, so that you set the national agenda for good governance, transparency, and accountability. I want to see young leaders in the National Assembly, in the Senate. And when I form government, even national executive will have a blend of the young, knowledgeable, energetic, backed up by the experienced and with proven track record. Tukiweka CS ambaye ako na experience, tunamwekea kijana ya 24 years Gen Z kama PS wanafanya kazi naye. And the future of our country. And unless we hand over this country to you.
Kagunye says, kindly play the video of Gachagua at Muranga talking on how Raila's ODM is formidable. You will know where this rhetoric is coming from. Oh, so this becomes another area of discussion Yeah, it becomes another area of discussion. I'll be checking on the video of Gachagua at Muranga, because I remember I watched it, but I didn't do a deep analysis, but I'm getting something. Bita Gakunyi seems to be a serious political analyst too, and that's good for me. Yeah, so Gachagua kept talking, and of course, even though people had thought that he was already out of the presidential candidate list, he seemingly comes out to want to assert himself and prove to the people that he wants this position, and he's marshalling numbers. So when you look at the youth meeting, the DCP Youth League Forum, all he did was to campaign and ensure that he's acquiring as many young people as possible. So, of course, yesterday we saw Kalonzo Musyoka asserting himself at Bondo through the visitation with 100 cows and the endorsement by Orengo and all that. And we can now see, I don't know what is going to happen. Canadian Prospect, well, house, thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate your presence. I don't know, I hope your day was fine. Now, you know, that discussion on Gachagua came out from this meeting here.
When we are dealing with a very important matter of recommitting Kenya mama yangu yetu, hatutakuacha milele. That composition by the late Kakai of Kilimambogo Boys is a very iconic composition, and whoever played it actually has talked to some of us. So it is in that spirit of building one strong nation, recommitting ourselves to the ideals of who we are as a people, as a nation, that we have been holding rotations as also of now as united opposition, mainly opposition parties who have presented candidates for the November 27 by-election. And in this case, the three parties are the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, Wiper Patriotic Front, and Democratic Citizens Party, DCP.
So, of course, that came from that meeting, and I think the government, or rather even citizens themselves, began to think that Kalonzo Musyoka had been already picked. But I don't know, as the debate goes on, and as Uhuru Kenyatta feels threatened and decides to tell the people of Mount Kenya to have a candidate and take over power, we can still see the tribal politics rolling in our nation. And at some point, I now begin agreeing with Kasmuel that tribal politics cannot end abruptly in Kenya, because people stand with their regions, no matter how much they can pretend not to. When we see Oscar Sudi and we see Murkomen and this guy, Farouk, actually defending the government so much, it's not because of the interests of the citizens, it's rather because of the regional aspect that one of his own is in office and they don't want him to go anywhere. In fact, in most of his statements, he has been having very flimsy statements and inflammatory statements to actually show clearly that he's defending the current government because the leader comes from his region. Anyway, back to Podo Farm. Today we saw bunge la what? We call it bunge la wananchi to Podo Farm. And of course, Salasia, Salasia was in the group. And this is what he had to say. So paying the last respects to Raila, Salasia did it today. Let's listen partly and come to...
You have governments in this country, and they are even positioning yourself politically. They are saying, Mama Ida, go pale, Mama Ibeisha. And Mama Ida, I think God has given you a lot of wisdom and a lot of grace to get you during this hard time. And I just want to ask you that maintain it, because now you are like the RAILA in the Bible, whereby the way Baba has been holding this country in terms of the peace. Some of us, we are very stubborn, but Baba will always put first this country. We are radicals. Lakini Baba, he will always look at the interest of this country. And you see, me when I stand here, I always say that Baba was bigger and is bigger than ODM. Baba is somebody else. And that's why ukiangalia Baba, he is a man, and I've studied that ya kwamba Baba was a man and is a man who had a pure heart. And that is why he has attracted everyone to step in this home, me included here. Today I was saying that I wake up in the morning and I started writing something on my own. I say that mimi ndio nilianzisha story ya watu kuleta hapa ng'ombe kwa watu wa Western. Kuleta ng'ombe, Baba alileta ng'ombe mingi sana kula wakati wa Malo alikufa. Sasa mimi nikaambia waleta mabulls. Mimi nitaleta sasa ng'ombe ya grade ya fresh and mama kukamua maziwa. Na sikuwa najua mama Aida. Sikuwa najua that the spirit of Baba was speaking to me. Mimi niambia nikasema naenda America, nikirudi ndio nitakuja kuona mama nikae naye chini pole niongee naye kama kijana wake. Lakini kumbe spirit kwa ananiambia America ambayo naenda na ni Kisumu na unapitia hapa ng'ombe unakuja kuona. So wakati nilitoka kwa ndege tulikuja na mheshimiwa pia naenda kuona mama. Sasa wewe you have no option. Na wakati pale nikaona tu Roho Mtakatifu anaingia kwangu na nikasikia vizuri. Na nikafuata itakuwa kama ile story ya Ruth na yule mwenye alisema naenda ndio. Sasa that is how I found myself, because I planned myself ya kwamba mimi naenda kuchukua wazee wa wanga nikuje hapa yetu kama hapa. Kwa sababu Baba played a very big role.
So Salasia was there actually giving a tribute and talking a lot, and all I can say is Baba's grave is turning into a political holy shrine. For whatever reason, every other politician wants now to visit and associate with the family. We saw yesterday people from Eastern region actually accompanying Kalonzo Musyoka to arrive here. Today we have seen Bunge la Wananchi arriving there, and we have Salasia in the team. And currently, of course, we have the ODM party is holding their tributes in, is it Migori today? Yeah. However, on a sad aspect is like some Kenyans are deciding to on Tanzanians. And it's a very sad aspect actually, because if it inflates, it can lead to xenophobic situations. And I hope that maybe Kenyans will stop at this. Now, when you look at today's news, not long ago, one of the Tanzanian church, a church that is actually led by Tanzanian individuals was attacked. Yeah, it was attacked and destroyed very seriously. So if this kind of tendencies continue, then they would lead to xenophobic situations, which we don't want. So we hope that citizens will actually be wise enough not to play the same tune as Samia and his army. We know that it's painful. Maybe some people have lost their families. Maybe they have they don't have whereabouts of their family members and all that. But it doesn't pay to revenge. You know, when you make desperate moves in desperate situations, all that ends up is blinding all the eyes. You know, they always say that blinding an eye does not pay or does not help. So I hope that Kenyans are going to refrain from paying back to Tanzanians, because, of course, they are not the ones who messed. Suluhu is the one who messed, and if international bodies can intervene, maybe that can help. But citizens of Kenya paying back to Tanzania, and remember, that will become a very serious thing. We have so much to protect, and even the image itself, so we don't have to ruin it anymore. So let's just look at this.
kwa watoto mayatima, watoto 200 wasio na makao ambao walikuwa wamehifadhiwa katika kituo kilichoko ndani ya ardhi ya kanisa hilo cha Lutheran Children Rescue walilazimika kuhamishwa katika eneo lingine kufuatia uvamizi huo. Washukiwa 4 wamekamatwa hadi kufikia sasa, huku wengine bado wakiendelea kusakwa kuhusiana na shambulizi hilo.
And in 2021, people whom we didn't know came and claimed that this property is theirs. They broke the premises, they put our property outside, and the children who are being kept here were as well left outside.
The Jericho Lutheran Church in Kenya was established by...
All right. Yilmaz, hello. 100% plant-based black man. Habari za mchana, nzuri sana labda yako. Peace and blessing from America. Welcome from America. Thank you for watching me, and also encourage others, your friends, to watch me as well. I'm so honored that you keep watching me. I appreciate. 100 plant-based black man again says hi, hello, welcome to the board. So I was just sharing information about the invasion of a church owned by Tanzanian guy, where it was invaded and destroyed, and actually it has an orphanage home with a lot of kids, around 220 settled there. And a plant-based black man says, what is your channel about? My channel has political, social, and social analysis. That is reactions towards, when I talk about social reactions, possibly when there is a travel commando, like we have Marwa, we have the sister Dimwango, we have Devi Jr., and the people surrounding them. So we have social analysis, reactions towards what they do, what they choose, what they say. We also react towards popular people, like, let's say, Bahati, Regina Daniels in other, that is Nigeria. We have Oga Obina in Kenya, and Bahati the singer. Sometimes even Jamaica, like when Jamaican politics were going on, we really had to do a lot of analysis. We also do political analysis, like the situation of Cameroon, the situation of Tanzania, Cote d'Ivoire, Jamaica itself, even currently what is facing it in terms of storms, and encourage, people to help as we just analyze what is going on to make people aware. Because once they are aware, they can do what they need to do. And I've also done my personal vlogs. When you check my videos, you will see my personal vlogs, whether I'm cooking, whether I'm traveling around, or whether I'm farming, among other things, the normal routine. And you will also see maybe lessons in English and Kiswahili, targeting students in different levels, elementary, that is the basic, and secondary school. So that is what we do on this channel. Thank you so much for asking, because of course I've highlighted that on my profile, right on my channel, but we are doing much more. Every day something crops up, we try it out and see whether it can work. Yeah, so that is exactly what we do. 100% plant-based says, I spent a month and 2 weeks in Kenya in September and October. I mostly stayed in Kisumu and Nakuru. Oh, Kisumu has a lot of exploration sites, even Nakuru. Thank you so much. You can also explore. Currently for me, in Kitale. I've also done a lot in Kakamega and Mombasa. So next time, please be in these places. You need a Swahili teacher? You can book for lessons with me. Plant-based. You can book lessons with me for sure, because I'm a teacher and I do languages. I've also written a lot of books in these areas, and I stayed with some beautiful Luo people. Luo people are our neighbor. For us, we are Luya, but anyway, it is what it is. So thank you so much for coming to the platform, and thank you for visiting our country. You can visit other places like Kitale. I have also a lot of stuff in Mombasa, which is especially Taita Taveta County, which is a very hilly one, but with very good places to explore. And you can also visit Kakamega, my home county, a very good place. You can see the Crying Stone, River Yala, and so many other places, and a lot of farming happening there. A unique city coming up in Kakamega, I think you know. There is this guy who has started a city within Kakamega also. So thank you so much for watching us. I really appreciate everybody. I was supposed to finish this news about the attacks that have been launched by Kenyans on Tanzania property, and I was just praying to God that I hope will not turn xenophobic. So let's take on this news, then we end our live stream.
Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tanzania. So even the documents was under our names, and already we have provided power of attorney to Evangelical Lutheran Church in Kenya. So I hope, I had a very big hope that these things will be resolved quickly, so as the work will continue.
Is a clarion call to the government multi-agencies to be able to respond and finalize the pending investigations at the DCI headquarters, so that they don't let loose those who prey on a home of the homeless children and render.
All right, guys, so we come to an end of our analysis. I really appreciate everybody for being very interested in what we are doing, and I hope we are really doing a good work. Thank you for your comments. Drop more comments for us. Drop the likes also, and we really appreciate for your support, because without your support we are nothing. All right, so we really rely so much on your support here on our channel, and even those who are dropping comments, you make us active and keep discussing as we go by. So you say you visited Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu, Thika, Chania Falls, Iten. Hey, Iten is a good place. Eldoret and Nanyuki. So of course you should also visit Kitale. Kitale is near Kapenguria and not very far from Eldoret. You should also visit places like Bungoma, Kakamega. And then if you are in Mombasa, please visit Taita Taveta. It's a very hilly place with Tsavo Park, East Tsavo, and the other part of Tsavo, with a lot of animals and all that. And a very stiff terrain. You can also even visit Kitui, places like Kitui. I've visited Kenya. Actually, I've traveled around Kenya, but I wish to travel now outside Kenya. Because I've ever gone to Tanzania, I've ever gone to Uganda, but I'm yet to travel to other places, which I should. As we keep toiling here, once money comes in, we can do these things. Why not? Yeah, but count on me. If you need a teacher for Kiswahili, I can well do that, because I've been really vocal in matters Kiswahili since I was a child. My father was a teacher also, and he loved Kiswahili a lot. He used to buy us a lot of storybooks, and we read, we communicated, and therefore I came to love languages in general. And when I see any storybook, I just have to it, because there is an interest in what is going on, and it teaches us a lot of things to do with what is happening around us and what is happening in the world. And at the same time, linking up, maybe you can write down the email. You can write down my email, mercyprica@yahoo.com. I hope you've got it. mercyprica@yahoo.com. Please link up with me on that mail, Yahoo mail, MESI. Waoge kwanza. Mchukua maji mwoge. Yeah, so get to link with me on my Gmail or Yahoo mail. Of course, I'll give you the easiest mail. Please write it down. And I think I've even put on my YouTube channel. But get to mercyprica@yahoo.com. Then we plan on the lessons. And of course, you can suggest how much you want to spend on the lessons and what you have to learn specifically for us to know how we can charge, because it depends. If you are doing language, you are learning a language just for the matter of communication, it is different from when you are learning for exams, you know. So it depends with for the words, maybe you try to the words, then you go to discourse based on different places and things, and then now you go to other matters. So don't worry, we will agree. I'm not going to be exorbitant or overcharge you. I've ever actually taught another friend. They were sisters at Mwatate who came from France, so I ever helped them to learn English, and I didn't overcharge them. We just agree. Then we see what to do, and then we focus, and we help each other. Yeah, so thank you so much for paying attention to my channel. May God bless you in your endeavors. Let's meet again in another live stream. Today I still have one live stream to do on Nyabohanse reactions, then I'll be done. Bye bye for now. Let's meet later.